Hey everyone, in this video I'm going to be breaking down Fables Volume 7, Arabian Nights and Days. Last volume we learned of the existence of the Arabian Homeland worlds, and now some of those Arabian characters are going to be fleeing the homelands to the mundane world, and they're going to have some political discussions with Fabletown to figure out their place in this new world. But what's really interesting is that the Arabian Fables brought a genie with them, and Fabletown does not like that. They equate bringing a genie as bringing a nuclear bomb with them, as genies are so dangerous. So that will make the political discussions very, very interesting. The other storyline we have in this volume is about two wooden soldiers in the homelands that love each other. Now, I know that might not sound amazing, but it really goes to some interesting places that will have repercussions for the future. So, yeah, let's dive into it now. Fables Volume 7. Fables Volume 7, Arabian Nights and Days. Written by Bill Willingham, art by Mark Buckingham and Jim Fern. Fables Issue 42, Arabian Nights and Days, Chapter 1, Broken English. It was mentioned last volume that Geppetto, aka the Adversary, had fully conquered the European worlds in the homelands, and he was soon planning on expanding his empire in the homelands into the Arabian worlds soon. While his army's incursions into that territory is still in its infancy, some of the Arabian fables have started making their way here to the mundane world, preparing for their eventual fleeing of the homelands, and they're settling here. Some royal diplomats from the Arabian homeland worlds have made their way to the mundane world through a gate in Baghdad. They have flown to America, and they are arriving in Fabletown by way of limo. They are parked outside the Woodland Luxury Apartment building, but then they are confused. Why is no one here to greet them? Why is there no reception committee, no pomp or ceremony? Not even a train of courtiers to express the dignity and majesty of the occasion. How long should they wait here? Well, they continue to wait. Inside the Woodland Luxury Apartments building, Prince Charming is having an awful time being mayor. He is sleeping on a cot in the back of his office. He's doing this to avoid all the people angry with him. Outside the office, there's a huge line of fables that have been waiting for hours for a meeting with Prince Charming to complain to him about various things. Prince Charming talks with Beauty a bit about how tired he is. She eventually starts sending the disgruntled fables in. One fable complains about increasing rent and the heat being out in the winter. Rockford J. Raccoon complains about the lack of enchantments that they were promised. Nurse Sprat complains about how they are 2 months behind funding the hospital. While all this is going on, the Arabian fables are still waiting in their limo parked outside. They refuse to step outside until they are greeted. They are not just some peasants. In the lobby of the Woodland Luxury Apartments building, Grimble is sitting at the security desk, and Flycatcher, looking through the window, is staring at the limo waiting outside. He wonders, what is it all about? Flycatcher. Eventually, he decides to go to the limo and ask them what their deal is. Flycatcher approaches the limo. He gets real close up to it. He says, "Hello." Inside the limo, one of the royal servants says, "What is this imbecile doing? He can't press his face against the car of your majestic personage. How dare he?" The royal prince inside says, "I've had enough, Hakim. Open the door, I'm getting out." So eventually, the Arabian fables open their limo and they step outside. And there we finally see who it is. It is Sinbad, the prince of the Arabian fables. He is there with Hakim, his royal servant, as well as Yusuf, who is in black, who is an advisor to Sinbad. Beyond the three of them, there are many male slaves as well as many gorgeous female slaves in sexy outfits. Sinbad is upset that no one except Flycatcher has come to greet them. He expected more fanfare. Sinbad and his envoy, they all speak Arabic, and there is a language barrier between them and Flycatcher. Flycatcher has no idea what they are saying. Yusuf, who knows a few words of English, tries to explain to Flycatcher that Mowgli agreed to greet them here, although they keep referring to Mowgli as a jungle boy or jungle girl, and Flycatcher is confused. Now, the reason Mowgli isn't here to greet them is because Mowgli is away on a mission for Prince Charming to get Bigby back, so he is nowhere to be found. Inside the woodland building, the real Red Riding Hood has gone down to visit Boy Blue. Boy Blue is in a jail cell. Boy Blue is still in trouble for stealing the witching cloak and Vorpal sword and heading off to the Homelands, and he is awaiting sentencing. Even though he was acting secretly on the orders of Prince Charming, Prince Charming and Boy Blue cannot reveal that to anyone. So as far as everyone in Fabletown knows, Boy Blue is acting alone. Now, some fables do consider Boy Blue a hero for adventuring to the Homelands and finding the real Red Riding Hood and saving her and bringing her back, but some of the fables still consider Boy Blue a criminal for the stealing that he did. And they are also not aware of all of the valuable information that Boy Blue has brought back with him on the Adversary. Now, Boy Blue and Red Riding Hood are talking in this cell. Red Riding Hood says she is a little lonely. She says that Flycatcher is polite to her, of course, but most of Fabletown gives her a mean look because they still associate her appearance with their enemy, Baba Yaga. Boy Blue tells her it'll take time for those associations to fade before they're willing to get to know the real you. Finally, in the Woodland Luxury Apartments building lobby, Prince Charming, Beauty, and Beast are greeting all of the Arabian fables. Prince Charming, he remembers now that Mowgli arranged to meet these Arabian fables here, but he sent Mowgli away on a mission. And even though Mowgli told Prince Charming about it, he forgot it all. Charming, he facepalms himself, saying he feels like a complete idiot. This mess is all his fault. None of them speak Arabic except for Mowgli, so they are struggling to communicate with them. Prince Charming eventually has Beauty give Sinbad and his envoy keys to their VIP suites. They show them over to their rooms. Yusuf, the advisor to Sinbad, is disappointed when they see their rooms. He says they need more rooms. They have a whole bunch of slaves after all. Prince Charming, he is not happy to hear about the slaves. He tells Sinbad, "Hey, listen here, fellow. If I understood your interpreter right, then we suddenly have a big problem. We aren't bloody goddamn slavers here, and we don't allow our guests to be bloody goddamn slave traffickers either." Sinbad, he thinks that they are all insane. Later that afternoon, Mowgli phones into Prince Charming. Mowgli reports that he is in London, and he has traced Bigby as having been here in London about 9 months ago. He is slowly making progress tracking him. They then start discussing the Arabian fables that have arrived in Fabletown. Mowgli hears about how shitty a job Prince Charming is doing with them, and he is so disappointed. It sounds like such a disaster. Mowgli says he spent 6 months negotiating a meeting with them, he explains. The Arabian fable refugees are flooding into Baghdad now. No, our version of Baghdad, which is somehow connected to their version of Baghdad in the Homelands. It seems the Adversary has begun an extensive invasion of their worlds. Well, after that conversation with Mowgli in the business office, Prince Charming, Beauty, and Beast are wondering what are they going to do. They need to try and smooth things over with Sinbad and his group. Beauty, she's been looking through some of the records of all the Fabletown residents, trying to find someone that speaks Arabic. Finally, she finds someone. She says, "Oh, here's someone. He even has the language, but we'll probably have to drag him out of the brand stock and sober him up first." Charming and Beast ask, "Who is it?" Beauty replies, "You're not going to like it." Who is the fable that will be able to perhaps save the day here? Inside the VIP suites, Sinbad, Yusuf, and Hakim are discussing what they should do. They eventually hear a knock at their door, and in walks King Cole. King Cole is the only fable in Fabletown that speaks the language of Sinbad and his envoy. King Cole has been doing nothing in the last few years ever since he got booted out as mayor. He's just been drinking and feeling bad for himself. So He is really ecstatic that he can be useful again. He is the only one that can save the day. Smoothing things over and talking with people and glad-handing is his specialty. King Cole, he greets Sinbad and the others in Arabic. He says, "I am a humble messenger who seeks a word with the famous Sinbad. May his deeds be exalted in the palaces, cities, encampments, and marketplaces across the lands. I greet you, Sinbad, in the name of Allah, the Compassionate. Praise be to Allah, the Beneficent King, the Creator of the universe, the Lord of the three worlds, and who stretched out the earth even as a bed, and grace and prayer, blessing on our Lord Muhammad, Lord of apostolic men. I am Cole, king of a distant land, lost to the depredations of the adversary. May Allah curse him with festering boils, and his offspring and every member of his tribe, even unto the last camel and she-goat. Now, gentlemen, shall we get down to brass tacks?" Wow, that is quite the greeting, King Cole. While King Cole is beginning the diplomacy talks, we see elsewhere, late into the night, Beast is working away in his office. And in Prince Charming and Beauty's office, they are too working late into the night. They talk about how rough a day it was. They wonder how Snow White and King Cole managed this job all these years. Prince Charming, he walks over to Beauty and starts massaging her shoulders. He tells her that King Cole and Snow White didn't have their distractions. Beauty asks, "What distractions?" Charming answers, "You, for one thing. I should never have moved my desk in here, never allowed myself to be so close to you day after day. Your scent, your witchcraft eyes, the curve of your lips. I can't not notice you any longer. Beauty isn't a good enough name for you. It's too small a word to describe everything that makes you up." Beauty, she starts feeling uncomfortable. She tries to excuse herself, says that it's time that they should go to bed. But then Prince Charming stops her, and then he kisses her. And it seems like Beauty kissed Prince Charming back. Fables, issue 43, Arabian Nights and Days, chapter 2, Gin and Tonic with a Twist. Beauty tells Prince Charming that that was some extraordinary kiss, but it's never going to happen again. Also, that was an incredibly inappropriate thing to do. She says, "Was I authentically tempted to throw caution to the wind and let you take me here on my desk or on the floor or wherever you stashed the cot back there? Of course I was. We both know the persuasive powers you possess. You practically exude a dress-hiking, panty-dropping musk that would make us all rich if we could bottle it, but we both know you're hollow, Prince Charming. And I still happen to love my husband, truly, madly, and deeply. I know me and my husband bicker, but I wouldn't jeopardize my marriage, no matter what passing state of randiness you caught me in." Prince Charming, defending himself a bit, says, "First of all, no one thinks your husband and you bicker at each other all the time. Everyone thinks you do it to him all the time. There's an important difference you might want to examine there. Second, you can't easily dismiss what nearly happened here as an effect of some sort of super seduction powers I have." He tells her she should take some responsibility for her actions. She returned his kiss. Beauty tells Charming, "Look, Mr. Mayor, I won't tell my husband about this incident because it would only hurt him to know of it, so we're both going to forget it ever happened. But if you ever touch me again, I will tell him, and you won't like the result. I'll continue working here for now, but don't ever expect to find yourself alone with me again. I think it's best if we both agree this incident was an unfortunate byproduct of too many days' stress and exhaustion." As Beauty leaves, Buffkin, who was sleeping in the business office at the time, wakes up, and he catches the tail end of their argument, so he knows that they had a little bit of a romantic connection here. The next day, King Cole and Prince Charming are talking more with Sinbad and Sinbad's advisor Yusuf, and they are trying to figure out how they are going to proceed. Downstairs, Beauty goes to visit her husband Beast, and she brings him some muffins in his office. After her brief kiss with Prince Charming recently, she realized how much she really loves her husband Beast, and wants to be with him and wants to make sure they're still together. She tells Beast, "You know, I'm sorry for nagging you as often as I do. You shouldn't have to be married to a shrew, but I hope you realize I'm still crazy mad about you and always will be." Beast says he knows, and the two of them reaffirm their commitment to one another. On the roof of the Woodland building, poolside, King Cole and Prince Charming are talking more with Sinbad and Yusuf. King Cole tells Sinbad, "My honored mayor, may Allah bless him with sons in abundance, agrees that we must recognize and respect each other's ways. So, he promises to respect your venerable custom to keep slaves." Sinbad responds, "Oh, marvelous!" King Cole continues, "But in return, he trusts you'll respect our custom to hang slavers wherever we may find them." Yusuf, he bursts out in anger, yelling, "Outrageous!" Sinbad tells Yusuf to sit down. Sinbad, he finds himself impressed with King Cole. He tells him, "Well done, King Cole, well played. Finally, in you I find a worthy opponent." Sinbad asks if King Cole plays chess, and King Cole says he does. So while they go play some chess, Beast visits with Fro Totenkinder. Totenkinder warns Beast that Sinbad and his party have brought a djinn with them. A djinn is another word for a genie. Totenkinder warns that genies are extremely dangerous. She says, "Let's say I had one and I wished for Fabletown to be destroyed, or New York, or America." Beast asks, "They're really that powerful?" Totenkinder answers, "They're creatures of almost pure magic, close to 97%. An accomplished sorcerer is primary mundane with slight magic infection. Your average elder god is only a 50-50 mixture of mundane and magic." Totenkinder further explains that the djinns have destroyed whole worlds in the past. Beast asks, "How do you stop one?" Totenkinder answers, We can't kill them or force them or challenge them directly. At best, we can trick them, but they're wary about that since trickery was used to trap them in their present predicament. In ancient times, when Solomon the Wise determined to rid the world of djinns, he tricked them into entering the capture bottles, but the bottles were actually sophisticated gateways, each to its own pocket universe, crafted by Daedalus, the greatest sorcerer-scientist of that age. One of those sorcerer-scientists of that age stated, "And if the djinns are ever discovered and freed, they'll have to perform 3 tasks for whoever releases them. Will finally put their powers to constructive use, as long as the 3rd wish is always used to force it back into the bottle. The cycle will continue and they'll never trouble us again." Beast, hearing all this history about the djinns, asks, "Has anyone ever failed to force a djinn back in its bottle with the 3rd wish?" Totenkinder answers, "It has happened a few times, and they were terrible days, but wiser men always used one of their own wishes to command another djinn to kill an unfettered one. One djinn can usually destroy another at the cost of its own existence." Beast asks if they should try and find another djinn then to kill this one. Totenkinder explains, "No, those few that still exist are out of reach." Totenkinder tells Beast that she will ponder what to do. She'll come up with something. Beast, he thanks her and leaves her to her work, asking her to keep him informed. She replies, "Always. We're allies, you and I. You're such a well-mannered boy. Not like that wolf and his snowy office girl." Elsewhere, King Cole and Sinbad are spending a lot more time together. They're swimming, they're playing chess, and Sinbad has become more and more impressed with King Cole and the ideas of Fabletown. King Cole explains the central idea behind this new world. It's that it is a new start to everyone, from slave to king. While Sinbad is impressed, Yusuf resents Sinbad's embracing of King Cole. Yusuf fears that they are twisting Sinbad's mind. Up at the farm, the wolf cubs of Snow White and Bigby are now able to transform into human form, and they are running around and playing. Snow White, Rose Red, and the North Wind are having tea with Fro Totenkinder, who came up to visit them. Fro Totenkinder is telling them all about the Arabian fables and their jinn. Snow White tells the North Wind that Totenkinder equates the bringing of a jinn as the equivalent of bringing a suitcase nuke to a UN meeting. It is almost an act of war. So, jinns are serious business. All of them are discussing what their options are. The North Wind could actually fight the jinn and win. The North Wind is supposedly actually powerful enough to do so. The North Wind explains, "We are related creatures, but distantly. What I am is the North Wind in all its manifestations. It's been some long ages since I did battle with a jinn. I've missed having such challenges in my life." Rose Red is surprised to learn that the North Wind is so powerful. She asks, if he's so powerful, why didn't he help them earlier in the Homelands with their battle with the Adversary? The North Wind responds, "Why would I? Governments come and go, and I've seen empires rise and fall and disappear into the dust to be forgotten. I am apart from such considerations. The Adversary's minions know to leave me alone, and that is enough." Snow White asks if the North Wind would be willing to fight and kill this jinn. The North Wind says he would, but the struggle and damage to this world would be great, and Snow White and her people would have to move again, so it does not seem like the best option. Back in Fabletown, Sinbad informs his advisor Yusuf that he has come to a decision. He will free his slaves. This world is a new beginning. He orders Yusuf to start drawing up the paperwork, and then Sinbad heads off. Now, while Yusuf is alone, he can't believe what Sinbad is doing. He believes that Sinbad has been transfixed by these Western devils. Therefore, Yusuf believes his actions are going to be just. So, he grabs the magic bottle that is keeping the trapped jinn inside. He rubs it, and the jinn releases from it. The jinn asks, "What are your commands, O master of my fate?" Yusuf explains his wishes, he says. "My first wish is thus. You will fly back to Baghdad and destroy all of the Arabian fables until I am the highest-ranking minister among the refugees. My second wish is thus. You will return here and slay Sinbad, Prince Charming, King Cole, and any other soul whose name appears on the list I will prepare. And my third wish is thus. You will increase in me riches and women and in personal sorceries until I am satisfied and command that I am sated." The jinn asks, "Are you certain this is what you want done, master?" Yusuf answers, "Haven't I commanded it so?" The jinn responds, "Then it will be done." Fables, Issue 44, Arabian Nights and Days, Chapter 3, Back to Baghdad. In the woodland building in his holding cell, Boy Blue and Prince Charming are talking. Boy Blue, when he was in the Homelands, loaded up in his witching cloak libraries full of books from private, public, and military libraries in the Homelands. He gathered tons of information on things like troop deployments and other military records. Charming says it will be years or decades before they are able to absorb all of this information. Unfortunately, by the time they can fully understand all of these secrets, most of them will be obsolete, which is the eternal curse of the espionage game. In Beast's office, Totenkinder tells Beast that Yusuf released the jinn last night. She doesn't know if he acted alone or not, though. The jinn, on orders of Yusuf, travels to Baghdad to complete his first wish, which was supposedly killing all the Arabian fables that would outrank him, so that he will be the highest remaining ranking minister. The jinn turns into an attractive-looking woman and charms its way through the military to get the proper information it needs. And once the jinn collected the list of people it would need to kill, the Jinn begins its murder spree. Back to Boy Blue and Prince Charming. Prince Charming has to break some of the bad news to Boy Blue. He says if it were up to him alone, he would let Boy Blue out of his cell this instant. With all of the helpful documentation that Boy Blue brought back with him, pardoning him would be easy. But Prince Charming says, unfortunately, I can't use these documents as an excuse to pardon you because it's essential we keep this information secret. Even their existence can be known only to a select handful of Fabletown citizens. And while every Fable in town applauds what you've done, they're also mad as hell that you helped yourself to our magic property to do it. It's a capital crime. Your exploits are still the #1 story in Fabletown, here and at the farm. I wasn't able to handle this quietly like I'd planned. In fact, they insisted on forming a formal 12-Fable tribunal to decide your sentence. Considering the nature of the crime, they were surprisingly merciful. The tribunal decided on a punishment of either 1 year confinement here or 2 years hard labor up at the farm. Prince Charming says he's so sorry. He hates this job. King Cole was so much better at it than him. Boy Blue is upset, but he will accept the sentence. He will take the 2 years hard labor up at the farm. Boy Blue tells Charming, though, to stop complaining. He wanted to be mayor, so stop crying about how tough the job is and do it. Now haul all of this crap out of my cells and get some sleep. In the business office, the 3 Crow brothers, Flycatcher, Grambo, Beast, Beauty, King Cole, and Fro Totenkinder, are discussing plans. They need to arrest the Arabian Fables for releasing the Jinn. It is an act of war, so they need to lock all of them up. They arm themselves with guns and they head off. In Baghdad, the Jinn has finished killing everyone it needed to kill to complete the first wish. It is now heading back to Fabletown to complete the second. In the Woodland building, the little group they put together, led by Beast, arrests all of the Arabian Fables. Prince Charming asks, what is going on? Totenkinder and Beast explain that our guests released the Jinn with instructions to destroy us. So, until we can determine otherwise, we have to assume we're at war with the Arabian Fables. Totenkinder does comment, though, that there is a chance Yusuf acted alone. Sinbad seemed genuinely surprised when they burst in on him. For now, though, they have to lock all of them up in the dungeons in separate cells so they can get to the bottom of this. Boy Blue, he leaves the Woodland Luxury Apartments building and he is waiting by the gate. He is going to get a ride up to the farm where he will stay for the next 2 years. Before Boy Blue leaves, though, he tells Flycatcher, "It seems I'm done here, Fly. I couldn't stand being locked up for a year, so I'm headed up to the farm with all of the other exiles. I expect you to look after Red Riding Hood for me while I'm gone, okay? She needs a friend, and you've always been a good one to me." In the dungeons, Kay, the All-Seer, looking at the Arabian Fables with his powers, determines that Yusuf indeed did act alone. Yusuf, he yells and swears at them and tells them that his Jinn should be coming back here soon to kill all of them, per his instructions. This is when Totenkinder reveals that she did something. She altered Yusuf's wish. She says, "I used my powers to affect you. I altered your language. What you thought you spoke and what you actually spoke to the Jinn were 2 different things." So Yusuf, he thought he gave the Jinn instructions to kill all of the Arabian Fables in Baghdad that outranked him. But Fro Totenkinder explains that she altered his language, and she made him actually say to go to Baghdad and wipe out any of the Arabian Fables who were secretly allied to him. So when the Jinn went to Baghdad, it wasn't killing those that were ranked above him, it was killing all of the Fables that were allied to Yusuf. Now Yusuf's second wish was to kill Prince Charming and King Cole and the various other Fables here that would threaten him. Fro Totenkinder changed that command to the genie to come back here and devour him slowly and painfully and kill him. So Yusuf himself ordered his own death by the jinn. And the third wish he had for riches, women, and power was changed to simply be a wish for the jinn to return to its bottle. Yusuf, he can't believe this happened. That is when the jinn returns. The jinn grabs Yusuf and says, "And now it is time for my slow-roasted supper." The jinn now begins slowly torturing and killing Yusuf. Fables, issue 45, Arabian Nights and Days, chapter 4, Act of War. Days later, Yusuf is still being tortured by the jinn and killed slowly. Frau Totenkinder is sitting outside the door in her rocking chair, waiting for the jinn to finally finish Yusuf off. She wants to make sure the jinn finishes its work and returns to its bottle. Prince Charming comments he is tired of hearing Yusuf's screams. He says they should just go in there and put a bullet through his head for his sake and theirs. Totenkinder tells Charming, "A noble impulse, Mr. Mayor, but I wouldn't advise it. Interfering with the jinn's progress might disrupt the delicate wish structure, canceling the third one altogether." Totenkinder advises instead that they let the jinn finish its process. King Cole and Charming leave. They go to talk with Sinbad and try to come to a peace deal. Up at the farm, Rose Red is showing Boy Blue around and telling him his duties for his hard labor up at the farm. The wolf cub children of Snow and Bigby are excited to see Boy Blue and hear about all of his adventures in the homelands recently. Is it true he saw lots of castles and dragons and unicorns? Rose Red tells the kids to bother Boy Blue later. Rose Red shows Boy Blue some of his duties. One of his jobs is going to be cleaning Bagheera's cage and feeding him. After going through some of the various chores Boy Blue is going to have to do, Boy Blue asks Rose Red, "I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but all of these new duties you're giving me, well, they're not that difficult at all. I'm supposed to be doing hard labor up here." Rose Red tells Boy Blue, "Here's the thing, the folks down at Fabletown have their agenda, and I have mine. They want you to work up here, and you will, but I'm the one who decides what needs doing and by whom. You're a bona fide hero, Boy Blue, and not just to the wolf cubs. When the indignitaries from down in the city come up here to poke their noses where they don't belong, we'll put on a show for them. We'll send you out to sweat in the fields for as long as they are here. Otherwise, don't worry so much. Now come on in and join Snow and me for lunch." So it sounds like Boy Blue's hard labor punishment up at the farm is going to be a little bit more chill and relaxed than he expected in the end. Back in Fabletown, Prince Charming and King Cole are talking with Sinbad. They ask him why did he even bring the gin bottle with him in the first place. Sinbad explains, for many reasons. First, it is our most powerful remaining weapon against the incursions of the adversary, so we determined to keep it always far away from him and his forces, until we could agree on the best use to make of it. I was given the charge of keeping it, so when I was dispatched to come here, naturally the vessel must come with me. King Cole asks, "Why didn't you keep it in a secure place then? You just left it sitting out on a table where anyone could get at it." Sinbad answers, "Well, my slaves wouldn't touch it because they know their place, and Yusuf, though he was ever the cranky contrarian, I thought he was ultimately loyal." Sinbad says he is sorry. He had no intention of making war with Fabletown. Later on, in the Fabletown business office, Beast is looking for his wife, Beauty. He asks Buffkin, "Hey Buffkin, how's it going? Have you seen my wife?" Buffkin, who is nervous about overhearing Beauty and Prince Charming in their kissing earlier, gets all weird and defensive to Beast's question. Buffkin answers, "Saw her? Saw her do what? Who said I saw her? I didn't see her do anything. Nothing at all. Why are you grilling me like some common criminal? I'm not a bad monkey, I'm a good monkey. And I have important work to do. Too much work to stand around spreading malicious gossip." As Buffkin leaves, Beast is really confused by this interaction. King Cole and Prince Charming have decided to release Sinbad from the jail cell. They return him to his guest VIP suite. They tell Sinbad his sentence is a lifetime banishment from Fabletown. However, that restriction wouldn't apply if he was, say, a head of state, like maybe if he was the new mayor of Fabletown East? Prince Charming adds, we assume the Arabian Fable refugees intend to form their own Fabletown in Baghdad. Well, Prince Charming wants Sinbad to lead it. He says, of course, we could only recognize a new Fabletown if it adopted many of the vital provisions of our own Fabletown compact. No slaves being first and foremost, and no revealing your true nature to the Mundies. Sinbad, he accepts this proposal happily. Days later, Sinbad tells all of his slaves that they are free. He tells them that they have an important decision to make. They can accompany him back to Baghdad as free fables, or they have all been invited to remain here as newly emancipated citizens of Fabletown. King Cole is also going to be journeying with Sinbad to Baghdad. He has been given a new official role as Fabletown West's official ambassador to Fabletown East. 11 days later, Sinbad and King Cole have traveled back to Baghdad. King Cole asks, how are they going to establish a Fabletown East here in a Baghdad that is currently under military occupation? Sinbad responds, oh, King Cole, our community won't be established in this drear place. Come with me and see what marvels await. Sinbad walks with King Cole to an underground tunnel in Baghdad. They then pass through a gate that takes them to the Homelands, and they enter the Homelands version of Baghdad, which is bright and beautiful and colorful like the world of Aladdin with flying carpets. King Cole is shocked that they are in the Homelands. Sinbad explains, Baghdad is far removed from the current extent of the Adversary's excursions. We have months still, or even years perhaps, to fortify it. We'll make a good stand here. Someday, as Allah wills it, we all may have to move over permanently to your world and burn the gate behind us, but not yet. King Cole comments, so you're not really refugees yet. Sinbad explains, we may be in a future none but the Almighty can see, but when we're forced to go, it will be in a more orderly fashion than the way your people slouched and straggled over the years to the New World. Sinbad tells King Cole, but enough of such things. Both Ali Baba and Aladdin have petitioned for the honor of hosting you tonight. So King Cole, for now, is going to be living it up in the Homelands version of Baghdad. And life goes on in Fabletown. Beauty, she tries to find a job for Sinbad's servant, Hakim, who chose to stay in Fabletown. Hakim is explaining some of his talents to Beauty so she can find him relevant work. Hakim says, my skills are numerous. I am master of the knife and the scimitar, and all manner of blades and poisons. Poisons hidden in food, poisons hidden in drink, poisons administered by a dart or through a cut of the skin, and also of strangling either with a cord or with my bare hands. Beauty, listening to Hakim, is trying to translate what he is saying with her English-Arabic dictionary. She didn't exactly follow all the stuff that he could do. Elsewhere in Fabletown, Flycatcher is walking with Red Riding Hood through the streets. He took her to a store to eat some chocolate and candy. This is something that would be extremely rare for Red Riding Hood to do in the Homelands. Red Riding Hood, she seems a little bit smitten with Flycatcher. She is maybe crushing on him a bit because he is so polite and nice to her. However, when some of the newly freed beautiful Arabian women walk by and say hello to Flycatcher and thank him for setting them up in their new rooms in Fabletown, Red Riding Hood gets a little bit jealous. Once the Arabian women leave, Red Riding Hood tells Flycatcher, I suppose you'd look at me like that if I dressed like them, parading around in my bloomers? Flycatcher replies, oh no, I'd never look at you like that. I mean, I wasn't looking at them the way you think, and you never look like them. Wait, I mean, I didn't mean... Red Riding Hood, she then runs off crying and says, oh, never mind, you don't understand anything, do you? And with this, we end the Arabian Nights and Days storyline, but we still have a two-parter storyline to finish out the volume. Fables issue 46, The Ballad of Rodney and June, part 1 of 2. A wooden soldier named Rodney is with his captain, Captain Arturo, and they are beginning their invasion of the Arabian Homelands. Rodney is a loyal servant of Geppetto's. He remembers his creation when he was being crafted by some of Geppetto's apprentice carvers, and one day Geppetto walked by the workstation that Rodney was being carved on, and Geppetto commented favorably on the carver's work. That was a transcendent moment for Rodney, and he treasures that memory for all of his life. Rodney fought many battles in the name of the Emperor, and he felt privileged to do so. The wooden soldiers, like him, would often lead various goblin soldiers as well as human meat soldiers into battle. While fighting in the Arabian Homelands, Rodney injured his leg. A creature bit a chunk out of it. So Rodney had to go see a wooden daughter named June, and June would carve Rodney a replacement leg. When Rodney saw June, though, he thought that she was carved to be the prettiest wooden girl he ever saw. Rodney started having complicated feelings for June, as love or infatuation was not common for wooden soldiers. June, she worked on Rodney's leg, and they talked. She asked what home tree he was carved from. Rodney answered, the north side of 67. June commented, wow, you're from an impressive sapline. No wonder you were so brave in battle. Rodney replied, it's easy to be bold when you're immune to most harm. It's our meat troops who are the brave ones. They're so damned easy to hurt. June gives Rodney a temporary, non-magic, wooden prosthetic mundane leg for now. She will order a sacred living wood replacement for Rodney, and it will arrive over the next several days. For now, she attaches the mundane wooden leg for him. In the coming days, Rodney continued his duties. Captain Arturo gave Rodney some orders. He told Rodney to burn their goblin troop allies that died in battle, and cook the enemy Arabian bodies and their beasts as food for the goblin allies. The goblin troops deserve a celebratory feast. Make sure none of our human officers get served any of that human food, though. For some reason known only to them, human meat fables are squeamish about eating the flesh of other human meat fables, even if it's their enemy. At night, Rodney would read up on human fable biology. His wooden brothers found it strange. The other wooden soldiers would talk to Rodney about how useless the human meat soldiers were. They would say they barely have time to make good soldiers of themselves because most of their time is taken up with filthy meat needs. They have to sleep a third of every single day, and they have to eat 3 or 4 times a day or they waste away. And how they have to take constant breaks to piss and shit and rest and copulate with their camp followers. They also smell bad if they don't bathe every month or so. They can barely run a mile without needing a rest, and they can't force march more than 20 miles a day, and they can't even do that for more than a few days in a row. They're so inefficient. One of the wooden soldiers says that they should just form one horde of all wooden soldiers. Then they could destroy anything in their path. Rodney informs them, my dear brothers in woodly arms, if you put all the wooden soldiers into one horde, then there wouldn't be enough left over to run the existing empire. The various kingdoms and districts would start rebelling almost immediately without our collective lumbered foot constantly on their collective fleshy neck. And let me remind you, honored siblings, the force that attacked tiny Fabletown was composed entirely of wooden soldiers, and they've never been seen again. In the days that followed, Rodney found more excuses to visit June, and the two of them would talk and talk. Rodney would read to her. They would go for walks. Both of them realized they were starting to fall in love with each other. They were not sure what to do about it, though, as there was no way for wooden soldiers to express their love for one another and, cleave together. Later on, Rodney was reading up on human fable biology, and he was talking with one of the goblin troopers. They were talking about sex. Rodney, surprised, says, "And then you put your what into her what?" The goblin trooper explained, "Exactly, sir. And sometimes in other places, depending on mood or inclination." Rodney, confused, asked, "But why would you want to? Why would anyone want to?" The goblin answered, "Well, it's the way of things, sir." Rodney, he then asked about kissing. The goblin explained that goblins don't really do that, but the humans do because they're too lily-livered to bite a girl proper. So later on, when Rodney and June were alone, they tried to kiss. They opened their wooden mouths and touched them together. It was weird. It did not feel good. They were wondering how long should they keep their mouths pressed up against each other. Rodney thought maybe they didn't follow the instructions properly. Rodney, he then decided to take a drastic step. He wrote a letter to his father, Geppetto, expressing his and June's love for each other and their desire to be turned human so that they can be together as a real man and woman and have children. Rodney knew what he was asking for would be looked down upon by his wooden brothers, but it was his desire. Rodney, he wished to mail the letter discreetly. The next day, when Rodney was going to mail the letter, Captain Arturo stopped Rodney. He told Rodney that, all outgoing mail must be read and censored. Rodney says he knows this. He's the censor, though. But Arturo says, yes, but surely you can't censor yourself, so I'll do it. I don't mind. So Arturo grabs the letter and he opens it. Rodney is fidgeting. He doesn't want his superior officer to read his desire to be turned human. When the wooden soldier Arturo opens the letter and gives it a read, and once he realizes what Rodney is asking for, he says, "Dear gods above and below, Rodney, are you joking? I can't let you send this letter. It's treasonous. What if this thing fell into enemy hands? It reveals information about the true nature of our father's place in the empire. For that matter, if it was ever read by the wrong one of our own people, it could be ruinous. You call our father by name and practically admit the emperor isn't really the highest authority. Go back to your quarters, Lieutenant, and stay there until I send for you. I need to ponder what to do about this." Fables, issue 47, The Ballad of Rodney and June, part 2. Captain Arturo gathered June and questioned her, and she confirmed that she knew what Rodney was planning on asking. Arturo, he wondered what he should do. He still doesn't know how to handle this situation. Rodney is a great loyal soldier after all. While Rodney is in his quarters, a fellow soldier who heard the rumors of what Rodney was wishing for to be turned into meat confronts Rodney. He asks Rodney, "Rodney, how could you want this to be meat? They shove dead animal and plant matter into one hole and shit runny, stinky, disgusting, worm-infested dung out of the other. Several times each day they do this. And they die from infection and starvation and sickness at the slightest wounds." Rodney explains he knows all of this. Hell, he recited it to others before, but this is what he wants. Eventually, Arturo comes up with a sneaky way to solve his problems in this situation. Technically, no letter has actually been sent, so treason did not actually occur. He gathers June and brings her to Rodney. Arturo tells the both of them, "Here's the situation, Rodney. There's an ugly rumor circulating through the camp that someone wrote a treasonous letter to our sacred father. Of course, no one would do such a thing, but even the rumor of such an insidious crime could sow havoc throughout the empire. Now, I can kill such talk on this end, but I need someone I can trust to journey home and assure our father that no such missive exists. I know it's an imposition and an arduous journey, but I'm asking you to take it, Rodney, for the good of the armies. And take Miss June with you. She can add her outsider's witness to the high level of loyalty and professionalism of this detachment. Funny thing, though, anyone who really wanted to ask our father what was rumored to be in that non-existent letter might just ask him in person. That way, with nothing written down where alien eyes might one day spy it, no treason's been committed. Here's my military pass for all gates and checkpoints. Don't lose it, and make sure it finds its way back to me. Pack your things, both of you. You leave in the morning." So, while Rodney can't send a letter to Geppetto asking to be made human, as that would be too risky, if Rodney were to go to Geppetto in person and give him a message, no one would be the wiser. And while there, Rodney could ask Geppetto whatever he wanted in person. Rodney and June thank Arturo for this. Arturo tells them, "Why, don't thank me, this is no gift. It's a vital and dangerous military mission. Save fleshy sentiment for the storybooks." So, Rodney and June began their voyage to Geppetto's cabin. It took many months, walking through a desert, sailing the sea, walking through various towns where kings and queens would celebrate them as persons of the sacred wood. Finally, Rodney and June arrived at Geppetto's cabin. Geppetto greeted them warmly. He talked with them and listened to their story of how the two of them loved each other and wished to be turned human. Geppetto told them that he would give them their wish and turn them human, but there would be a price. They would have to do something for him in return. They accepted Geppetto's request, and Geppetto turned Rodney and June into humans, and they were wed in a huge ceremony conducted by the fake public emperor himself. Rodney and June kissed, which they finally learned how to do correctly, and they made love, and June got pregnant. Then it was time to fulfill their end of the bargain with Geppetto and take on a mission for him. They would essentially live as Cold War type spies in the mundane world. Rodney and June were educated in Mundy ways, educated about America. They were taught about motor cars. They were taught about money, how 10 pennies equals a dime and 10 dimes equals a dollar. They were taught the modern Mundy version of English. Then they were put to sleep for the passage through the gate to the Mundy world, so they could never reveal its location. In the Mundy world, they were to live 2 city blocks away from Fabletown, in an apartment that was secured just for them. They were to spend years living among the Mundys until they were fully Mundy themselves. They were to get jobs. They were to blend in, but observe those in Fabletown and report back. They were to learn every imaginable art of subterfuge, sabotage, and murder, in case that was what was required of them. They would take on the fake names of Rodney and June Greenwood. Rodney would work at an Italian deli. June would be a housewife. They would be ordinary, invisible. They would write their observations into a magical journal, and it would never run out of pages. And each word they wrote would magically reproduce in an identical volume in a secret office in the imperial city in the Homelands. Sometimes something would be written back to them, orders, instructions, special errands from their superiors. They were usually not happy errands. While not explicitly stated, it is assumed some of these errands were usually for Rodney to kill someone or commit some sort of dangerous act. Even though Rodney and June did perhaps not want to follow all of these orders, they remained loyal to the Emperor, perhaps out of genuine loyalty, but also perhaps due to their enchantments to do so. June, now living in the Mundy, pregnant, was lying in bed one night. She was sad. She wondered, would they tell their unborn daughter the truth one day after she was born? Or would they just raise her as a happy, spoiled American child? Sometimes June would cry at night. She never cried when she was wood. She couldn't. Sometimes she missed not crying. And that is the end of Volume 7. Alright, that was Fables Volume 7. While maybe not a top-tier volume, it was still very solid. I liked some of the miscommunications between the Arabian Fables and the Fables in Fabletown and them trying to work out their differences. I liked that King Cole was brought back into the picture and was finally given something to do, and he was allowed to be the hero and smooth things over. I thought the threat of the genie was really interesting, thinking of the repercussions of that and how it would play out. I like how Frototenkinder saved the day in the end by twisting this Yusuf guy's words and making him wish for something else, so that was really fun. And the status quo change we had at the end of here, where there's going to be the establishment of a Fabletown East that will talk with Fabletown West was also pretty good as well. So, all in all, a very solid volume. Then we had the other story arc about the two wooden soldiers, and it was actually, I thought, very compelling. I thought it was really funny, a lot of moments of the wooden soldiers talking amongst themselves, saying how terrible humans are and how useless they are and how they can't march for hours and they have to eat so many times a day and they have to sleep. So all that was really fun. I thought it was so funny when the one wooden soldier was talking to the goblin about sex, and he was just shocked at what humans did. He put his what into her what? That was so funny. And then in the end, I thought the story went somewhere really interesting where they're going back to Geppetto. They want to be made human, and then they are forced to be these kind of Cold War spies in the Monday. A great subversion of where I thought the story was going. Love that sort of twist ending. And I like the sort of sad ending we get where the wooden wife character, who's now a human, she is crying in bed at night and she is kind of sad at what her life is like now. And she is maybe resenting some of the stuff they are forced to do. So, all in all, just a great ending there in that story. So, yeah, this volume was solid stuff. I'm going to give it an 8.5 out of 10. Thank you all for watching, and I'll be back next week with more Fables.